When he turned his back from shoulder to shoulder, it looked like as wide as the tailgate of a truck.
And just darkness, literal darkness, just came like all over, just all over me except where I was standing.
This thing let out the most blood-curdling, mind-blowing, spine-tingling scream that you've ever heard in your life, and it cut through me like a knife.
And I knew that they were going to take me. I just knew it. And then the next thing I can remember is being levitated.
Well, when I look in there, I see two big eyes staring back at me.
Hello and welcome. You're listening to the Bump Podcast, a place for the believers of the unexplained, monsters, and paranormal. Join us, and we'll go face to face with what goes bump in the night. Hey there, believers. Got a good episode for you today. I'm bringing on Shane from Inquiries of Our Reality. He's got his own podcast. It's a good show. He had me on a few weeks ago to record. I don't know if he's released it yet or not. I don't think he has. I've been watching for it. Hopefully I'm not on the cutting room floor somewhere. I think he might just be waiting for me to release this one. So I'm going to bring Shane on. He's got some dreams that he wants to discuss, but beyond that, he had a paranormal experience also. And he, one of my favorite things about Shane is he has a very open mind. He had me on his show. We discussed, cryptids and spiritual warfare and stuff like that. And I want to see, what kind of direction our interview takes today, our session. I know what we're going to talk about, but I want to see how it evolves and what it turns into. So let's just have a good time with it. And with no further delay, I'm going to go ahead and bring on Shane. Oh, let me add this. This is the first show on the new internet. So if it messes up, this is the best I can do. But it shouldn't mess up. Okay, we should be firing. Uploaded a YouTube video. What would usually take about an hour took about 11 minutes, something like that. So, oh yeah, it's on. Big things coming, better things coming as far as quality goes. I plan on using my whole office here instead of just this little corner of my office to do the show. I got a study area. I got my library of books, and I want to get all that in there so we can have more fun. I want to spread out instead of staying tucked away in the corner here. So I might move some cameras around. There's a lot of decluttering I need to do, but I'm rambling now. Let's go ahead and bring on Shane.
Hi, everyone. I'm Shane from Inquiries of Our Reality. I guess today I have two interesting life stories I can share with you guys. The first one, well, I guess I'll start with the long one, and then I'll end with the little short and sweet one. So from the time I was really young, I used to have experiences where I don't know exactly when they started, but I used to pretty much I'd fall asleep, and when I'd fall asleep, I would wake up and I would see myself sleeping, and I would not really go anywhere far or crazy or anything like that. It would kind of just be I'd be above myself or in my room or just somewhere in my house. And I just kind of walk around, and I never really saw anything super crazy at that point. It was more this kind of ominous feeling, like something's watching you, but not necessarily negative. When I was young, at least, it was more of just, I don't know, something curious kind of watching you. Yeah. And then as I started getting a little bit older and I got into my teenage years, it was a little bit different, where it kind of became something dark that kind of felt like it was kind of following me around and watching me. And every single time I'd have these experiences, I'd have sleep paralysis directly after. And that was kind of like my keynote to knowing that, it was this special type of dream where I would like dream travel out of my body. And the only time I ever had those dreams, I would always get sleep paralysis directly after. So when I was a teenager, I didn't see anything like distinct or crazy, I guess, but I saw like kind of like shadows moving around in the distance, like around me when I was sleeping, just kind of like, I guess, like the normal sleep paralysis type kind of feeling. But then let's see. So the only time I ever saw anything, I'd say that was kind of crazy was there was one time when I was probably like 18 or so, maybe a little bit younger. So I was a teenager still at that point, but I was in some place where it looked like I was in like the middle of space, and I was within like a purplish looking like nebula or something, or like galaxy, and I was just kind of like, I don't want to say I was like floating, but I wasn't really standing there either. I was just kind of like existing within it. So say not that it. And then right after that, I got sleep paralysis also, which is what made me question if it was just a dream or if it was like some place that I may have went when I was sleeping.
Right.
So then we get into probably about, let's say probably like my 20s or so. I didn't really like the experiences kind of stopped for a little while. I didn't really like have them, but I didn't really remember my dreams either, which was also the kind of weird part, because before that I always had like, I'd remember my dreams even when they weren't these like dream traveling type experiences.
Yeah.
So when I did remember dreams, they'd be very, very vivid dreams, and I don't know, just really, really weird dreams. So I didn't really have too much happen for a little while. I'm 28 now. A couple of years ago, my girlfriend and I were trying to have a child, and I guess before I get into it too far, just doesn't end sad. So it isn't like a sad part, even though it sounds like a sad part for this part.
Okay.
But so when we were trying, we ended up losing one. It didn't have a heartbeat at 8 weeks, so she ended up having to get some surgery, get it removed, because it wasn't miscarrying. So in the midst of this, and I was kind of upset and had a lot of stuff going on, I had this weird dream where I went to that place that I saw when I was a teenager, which was like the middle of space with like the purple nebula, except there was a younger boy there who kind of looked like me. And he pretty much said something along the lines of like, that wasn't a good one. I'll see you on the next one. So
Wow.
a couple weeks after that, I figure out that it ended up working again and that we're having another child. And then a couple of weeks after that, or however it was probably like, I think it's 3 months in or something like that, you figure out the gender. We figured out it was a boy. So that was like a weird connection that came with that. And I'm kind of at the point right now where I'm kind of just seeing what happens with it. I won't really know until I'd say the boy was probably about 6 or 7 in the dream to see if my son looks exactly the same. Kind of just bring even more questions along with this whole story.
I love that.
But right after that dream, I had sleep paralysis, which is what made me question that whole, if it was a dream or if it was some type of dream travel experience.
Right.
And where I'm at right now with it is pretty much, I don't really remember my dreams unless they're very vivid dreams, but I do get sleep paralysis once in a while. But when I do, I don't remember the dream that came beforehand, which is also kind of weird. So I don't know what's going on with that, if I'm going somewhere and I don't remember, or if maybe it's just like a weird connection within dreams. But it happens to me probably, I'd say at least like once a month. I get sleep paralysis when I'm sleeping. And then for whatever reason, the last couple of weeks, my dreams have gotten extremely vivid, where I had 3 days in a row where I completely remembered my dreams, which I didn't get sleep paralysis after, but they're just extremely vivid. So I just kind of try to make some kind of connection to them because I feel like there's something important if they're that vivid.
Right.
So the first one, I'm like, I don't want to say I'm in the woods. I'm kind of like by like a house in the woods, and there's a UFO flying above me. And I just remembered like yelling like, hey, look, everybody, look, like there's something here. And then nobody was hearing me and nobody was coming or seeing anything. And it was just me pretty much screaming to try to get somebody to look at it, and nothing was happening. So that was my first vivid one. And then the second one was probably the more vivid of all of them, where I remember being in some type of, I guess the best way to describe it would be like a strip mall kind of thing, but it's completely wrapped around where there's almost like a court type area in the middle.
Right.
And there was a bunch of tables and chairs sitting there, and a bunch of people were just sitting and eating, and it was wrapped around with like a bunch of restaurants and stuff. So I'm standing there just trying to look for food, walking around, and I remember there was this like homeless person that ran up and basically said something was after him, like, look, there's something's coming, something's coming. So as he said that, and I'm looking at him, I look over to all the people that are in the center, and all of them had turned into, see, the best way to describe it would be, you know, those like African war dances that people do, and they have like the big things are made out of like grass,
Yeah.
and they're kind of like primal looking.
Yeah, man.
It was almost like that. And then the masks were like animals and kind of looked like, I don't want to say demonish, but a little bit kind of demonish, but they're all like black masks.
Yeah.
And all of them had black like grass outfits on, and they were very like large. They weren't like small people, like they're stacked up. And I'm like sitting there pointing at them like, hey, like, is anybody gonna react to this? And nobody's reacting, and everybody's like, oh no, it's just like a show. And I'm like staring at them, and they're all staring at me. And then I remember waking up after that, and I was like, all right, that's a really weird dream.
Yes, it is.
And then the next one after that is I'm in a log cabin, and I hear a big boom on the door. And when I go to like the window to like look around the corner to see what might be at the door, it was just it was like Bigfoot, and he was just standing there, he's just knocking on the door like casual, like nothing was going on. And it wasn't like a monster like knocking at the door trying to rip the door open. He was just like casually knocking at the door. And I just remember thinking, this is strange. And then I woke up from that.
Well, those are pretty sweet dreams. So honestly, I mean, that's not too bad, especially if you didn't have sleep paralysis with them. I mean, you have a UFO, you have something kind of paranormalish, you know, the ritualistic thing, and then you have your Bigfoot, you know. That's kind of the trifecta, you know.
Yeah, I was wondering if it was something just linked to maybe just thinking about like doing podcasts or something. But either way, I don't know. I just take really weird dreams into consideration.
Yeah, you have to. You have to take them into consideration. And I appreciate you sharing that with me, especially about your boy. It's exciting to think, you know, that you had a vision, you know, or a visitation from him. I don't know. I guess it'll be years. How old is he now?
He just turned 6 months on the 14th.
Oh, wow. It's gonna be a long wait
Yeah.
to see if this pans out, man. But
it was so vivid though. I got like a picture of it, so I'll remember when I get to that point. So
yeah, for sure.
You know, I got another 5.5 or so years, I'd say.
That's too cool, man. But what do you think the sleep paralysis is? Because I'm sure you know, doing, you know, in the field that you're in, what they used to connect sleep paralysis with. You know, like a
I mean, say from my experience at least, like I guess everybody perceives it a little bit differently, but considering that I'd usually like dream travel in the process, I kind of imagined it more like you know, like restarting a computer or something like that. Like
nice.
your soul or whatever you want to call it gets put back in your body, and it almost like it needs a second to like recalibrate itself inside of like your vessel, so to speak, or meets. A lot of people have different variations of it or what it could mean, or they think it's linked to like shadow people, different things like that. But at least for me, I feel like that's like when you're coming back into your body. And because of that, that might be why there's shadow people or possible different entities that people see around you, is because maybe they see it as like an open vessel and they're trying to like crowd around it to see if anything's going to come back to it maybe.
Wow. I hadn't considered that. So let me ask you this then, because that's a lot of insight. You know, you doing this stuff, I'm sure you think about it more than most. With the astral projection, how are you doing it? Obviously, if you were doing it as a little boy, it wasn't really on purpose. But did you have like a near-death experience as a kid or anything that kind of opened you up, made you more in tune to this, or you know, what's up?
Not that I know of. I didn't have really any control over when it would happen. It would just kind of like happen. Even now, it kind of just happens. Maybe I had a way of knowing when I was a kid that I was going to do it, and I kind of did it, but I lost track of it along the way. As far as like near death experiences, I had one when I was like probably about 18, 19.
Yeah.
but not when I was younger. But like the only traumatic thing that I could think of happening when I was younger was like my parents got divorced. And I'd probably say that, I mean, I was like 3 or 4, so that's about the same time you really start remembering stuff anyways. But I don't know, maybe that played some type of factor in it, growing up in a household where it wasn't like an easygoing, oh, we're gonna get divorced household. Like as a young kid, I remember my dad like putting holes in the wall and my mom screaming and running off and stuff like that. So just maybe like traumatic childhood, kind of boosts up those kinds of things. Maybe like
Right.
maybe you're like trying to like escape your reality in a sense.
Yeah. Yeah. I always wondered that kind of stuff, because yeah, if either it's happening to everyone and we just don't remember it, because we're sleeping, like we're shut down, or it's only happening to specific people, and that makes it 10 times cooler because there's specific reasons why that would happen to certain people. It would be like you're selected for these things. And I don't know. I love to hear about this stuff, man.
My kind of wonder too is that if it's like there's like a dream plane and then there's like, I don't know, like a layered plane that's in our plane. And maybe it's one of those things where it's like everybody goes to like the dream plane when they sleep, but maybe like some people know how to like kind of bounce in between where they already are and where they're supposed to go, kind of a thing. I don't know. It seems like most of the time though, people that have things like that have had some type of like traumatic experiences in their past, and it kind of connects them into like this different wavelength of thinking almost.
Yep. Yeah, I think so too. It's like it's usually triggered or whatever by a traumatic event. Just like when people have multiple UFO sightings or different encounters, different levels of encounters with extraterrestrials or whatever, it's usually connected to some kind of weird experience as a young child, and it just might kind of tunes them in. Same thing with Bigfoot. If you see it once, you usually see it 3 or 4 or 5 times. It's just odd. It's like you're marked. You know what I mean? It's cool.
Speaking of Mark too, sometimes I feel like it's almost like a family connection too, where it'll be like multiple people in a family will see something, even with like Bigfoot, UFOs, with dream traveling. Like my grandma was 100% Cherokee, and I know she was into a lot of spiritual stuff, but I wasn't like old enough when she passed away to really talk to her about anything like that. So I'm almost kind of curious if she may have had experiences like that, and it might be something that's more of like a hereditary thing rather than being like a traumatic thing. But again, I mean, like when I was a kid, my parents weren't people that were meant to be together. So I'm sure that there was a lot of like subconsciously traumatic things that happened that I just kind of repressed and maybe don't know about or don't remember or just chose not to remember.
Could be.
But,
could be.
And I mean, even on top of that too, my mom was somebody that wasn't really supposed to get pregnant. So I was kind of like an odd one out that it wasn't something that was supposed to happen.
Really?
So I don't know, maybe that plays a factor in it also.
Yeah. She wasn't supposed to be able to have children at all.
Yeah, she had shingles really bad when she was a kid.
Right.
And she had it like where she was blind in one eye and it like destroyed a bunch of her body from what she told me. I don't remember exactly all of it because I haven't talked to my mom in a while.
Right.
But yeah, she told me and my dad told me that basically she wasn't supposed to be able to have kids because she had a bunch of different like things that happened to her when she was younger that made it so that she was supposed to be infertile. And she, tried with her husband before my dad and nothing ever happened. And then she was with my dad and then it just randomly happened one day. So kind of like a, I don't know, spontaneous random occurrence.
Well, you can look at it as spontaneous and random, Shane, or you can look at it like you're a miracle baby and you're supposed to be here for a set purpose in life. You know what I mean?
That's what I like to hope for.
That's the way I choose to see it, Absolutely, man. Absolutely. You're here for a purpose. I love it.
That's why I try to pay attention to my dreams and things like that, is because I don't know, I feel like it's all supposed to tie in. Like I'm one of those people that, like bad things happen, but it links into something good happening way later on. So I feel like everything happens for a reason, and I have seen nothing different to make me think otherwise.
Right. Right. Well, I'm not going to wear out the Bible on this show, but it does say that everything happens for good. There's a good outcome no matter what you're going through. Everything's happening for good. So I believe what you're saying, man. I'm right there with you, right on board.
Dude, even with like bad experiences too, like a lot of the time, if you didn't go through the bad experiences that you went through, you wouldn't be the strong person you are now. And also you wouldn't be able to help people through those same bad experiences if you hadn't already experienced them yourself. So I feel like it all ends up being a positive as long as you keep your head high and you end up getting through the tough times.
I agree, man. I agree. And, how could you appreciate the good times if you didn't have the bad times, to compare it to?
Exactly.
We'd all fall apart anytime something bad happened if all we knew was good, so.
And if everything was always good or everything was always bad, it would just become neutral at that point too. So there wouldn't be any like spice to life in a sense. You got to have your ups to have your downs.
That's right. We'll enjoy it. All right. Tell me about this shadow person. This is interesting, man.
Oh, actually, a quick little dream I got to add in here before I start that story. Because I almost forgot to add this one in here. Not that I had sleep paralysis after this dream, but it was just something actually, did I have sleep paralysis after this one? I don't remember if I did or not, but either way, there was one, it's probably like, I don't know, probably like 6 months to a year ago, something like that. It wasn't too long ago, but it was long enough that it feels distant. I went to sleep, and the best way I can describe this dream was almost like dream travel or like dimensional traveling, where I went to sleep and I woke up and I was somewhere else and I was trying to find my girlfriend and I couldn't find her. And then when I finally found her, she wasn't quite herself. So I tried to find somewhere else to go to sleep. I went to sleep. I was in another place that was kind of like normal, but it still seemed kind of off. And I was trying to find her and I couldn't find her. And when I finally found her again, she wasn't quite herself. And this went on for a while, and it felt like it was just hours and hours of me doing this. So then when I finally woke up, and I didn't know if I was actually still dreaming or not, or if I was actually like back home, but I like rolled over and I was next to her again. And it was probably, honestly, out of all the dreams I've ever had, that was probably the most vivid dream, because I can still remember every detail of like every place I was at in all these different places, how long it felt like it took. And the weird part about that particular dream was that after that, all the Mandela effect stuff, I noticed that I was on the opposite side of it. So then that's when I started kind of digging into the whole like CERN and like, different, I guess you could say like dimensions, like kind of converging with each other.
Yeah.
Because that dream kind of made me feel like I was kind of on the opposite side of things, and like kind of made me question my own reality, because it was such like a vivid dream that I felt like I was actually in all of these different dimensions as I was going through them, be it a dream or if it was not. Either way, it was extremely weird.
Yeah, it is extremely weird. I love it though. I said on a show, a couple of weeks ago that, I hear another dimension or interdimensional almost too much. But in this case, in this kind of circumstance, this is totally different. This is where I think that you are going through interdimensional kind of experiences. I was afraid I was going to get some flack for saying it, a couple of weeks ago, but I just meant like, in that instance, people would say, well, what's Bigfoot? I don't know, interdimensional. What are aliens? I don't know, interdimensional. And, it was like, it's like a blanket statement for so many things. But when you're actually experiencing some sort of seemingly interdimensional travel, and being on the, like you said, the opposite side of the Mandela effect, it's kind of justified to talk about, the multiverse or whatever you want to call it, man.
And I've heard a lot of different stories about different people having experiences like that, where they woke up and felt like they were somewhere else, and they'll just notice weird little differences. Like somebody's like breed of dog was different in one of the stories I heard, but everything else was normal. So I don't know if people are able to jump dimensions in a sense too. I feel like the most logical place to do it would be in your dream, because in that sense, I kind of feel like your soul, or whatever you want to call it, your consciousness, leaves your vessel. So like theoretically it could jump into your same vessel but in another dimension, and who's to say that whatever consciousness was in that one didn't switch with you and now they're in your reality. So like both of you are mixed up, but both of you keep going on, never really knowing like what happened.
Well, I hope my rich self jumps up one of these mornings.
You mean both. Could have woke up in a mansion instead and been like, is this reality?
Yeah.
Slap yourself awake.
Please be reality. Yeah, man. Absolutely.
It's like those dreams where you get something in your dream and it's like something you always wanted, and then you wake up and you're like, oh, dang it.
Yep. It's not even there. I had
I
a
remember
dream.
having dreams like that with video game systems and stuff when I was a kid.
I had a dream about, I don't know, maybe 2 months ago now, 6 weeks ago, somewhere through there. And it was kind of like, well, I don't know. I'll just describe what I can remember of it. In my dream, what I can remember is I was sitting around some of my students at the school, and we were reading through the Bible, and the words were like coming off the page. And I was all happy, and the kids were happy, and we are just sitting there having a good, conversation or whatever.
Mhm.
But that's all I can remember about it. It's just like a little snippet, just like little flashes of that dream, because the dream went on all night long. I got up in the middle of the night to use the bathroom because I'm 41 years old, and then I come back to bed and I go straight back into that dream, which never has happened.
Yeah, that's super weird.
So I just stayed in that all night. In the morning when my alarm went off, I woke up still smiling. I was still seeing it, and I reached over and I hit the alarm, hit the off button or whatever on my phone. And it was like in my head, my dream was being kind of pulled away. I was watching it leave. And then as it went, I couldn't remember anything else about it. Just those a couple of little flashbulb kind of memories about it. But long story short, eventually that dream came true. Like the last day of school, all this really happened. And once, the bell rang and the kids left for the day, I realized, that I had a glimpse of it. It all came to fruition. So I love those kind of dreams. I've had those a couple of times in my life where I would see something happen before it happened.
It's like the deja vu dreams.
Kinda, yeah. I had it when I was deployed. I was in Guam, and I had a dream that there was a tsunami coming or whatever. And 2 or 3 days later, it's on the news that the tsunami's coming. Then I had another dream, because you see everything a mile, forever away because you're in the middle of the, South Pacific Ocean.
Mm-hmm.
I had another dream like the next night or whatever that it had turned again the next day on the news. It said it had made some kind of hard turn. It was going towards Japan or something instead of towards us. And that was in like 2006, I think it was 2005, 2006. But it was 2 times, like within a week, that I had these dreams, and they both came true, and that was wild. And that hadn't happened again until the other day. So.
See, that almost makes me wonder if everybody's like I was saying, kind of connected into that universe. It's just a matter of like being able to bring it back with you. And a lot of the time, it's like trying to hold on to sand. It just falls through your fingertips. But then when something in life happens, it like insta sparks and you start remembering your dreams. Like I'll have that once in a while too, where like I'll just be going about my day and something will feel like it already happened. And it's like, wait, did I dream about this at some point? Like it's weird.
Yeah, it gets weird. It gets real weird. All right. Now, where'd you go? Oh, there you are. All right. Now, tell me about this shadow person, because I haven't had hardly any shadow person episodes, and everybody sees a shadow person but me. Well, I've seen shadow people, but not like full form kind of.
So I guess so I had my I guess you can call it like a shadow person experience within my my dream story that I was telling you.
Yeah.
But I don't know if both of them are exactly connected, but they just happen to happen on the same day. So I guess I'll just tell you the story from the beginning. So my girlfriend and a couple of friends and I used to do urban exploring. So we'd go to just, like abandoned places and we just kind of explore around, get to know the place. So we used to go to this place called Northville Psychiatric Hospital.
Mm.
And we went there so many times that we had like the whole place mapped out. It was like multiple buildings. Then there was like the big actual like hospital building, a bunch of like little side buildings. Nothing super duper crazy really ever happened there. But there was this one particular time. Well, I guess it was 2 times altogether, but this first time we were up on one of like the top stories to where the actual big hospital part was. And there wasn't any wind or anything on this floor. Most of the windows were all intact. And we're walking down this long hallway, and there was this door that had a smiley face spray painted on it, which was also kind of weird. And it slammed shut in front of us. So we all jumped. We're all like, okay, that was weird. So we pull the door back open. We let it sit. We hang out for a little while. Like it doesn't slam. We don't feel any wind or anything on that floor. So that was a little bit weird. So I believe it was that same day. So we'd never been down in the basement before. And underneath Northville, there's the Northville tunnels, which they connect like down underneath the city. And one of the entry points is down in the basement of Northville Hospital. So we decided we were going to go down and try to explore the tunnels. So we get down into the basement and we start looking around different random, like, I don't even want to say they're rooms because it was like a big long hallway and there was a bunch of different like brick walls and some of them were like busted in. So they're kind of like doorways, but not exactly doorways.
Right.
So I turn into this one. I'm the first one and I have two other people with me. It's my girlfriend and her friend. And as I step into this room, I see the best way to describe it is like I guess you could say like the old like carts, like they push around in like hospitals and stuff, like a little buggy carts. And I walk in the room and I hear run on the side of my ear. And as I hear that, I look over behind the cart and I start seeing this thing stand up and it looks something like it's tall, has like pale white skin with like long black hair. And as it's standing up, I'm like, nope. So I take off out of there. I start running. I go up the stairs. As in the process of this, just to add into like the overall fear of it, I like wake up a couple bats or something. So a couple bats are flying around up the staircase as I'm trying to run up the staircase.
Of course.
So we go to leave after that. But as we're going to leave, we start just kind of taking pictures behind us. And I'll have to send it to you after the show. But we get what this thing looks like within like a picture. As it was like following us, but we had to like drop the resolution a lot, but you can see like the shape of it because she was taking it in pitch black hallways.
Mm-hmm.
So later on that night, we're back at, it's just her and I back at our house. We're hang out upstairs because that's where like her bedroom is and stuff. So we go downstairs and when we go downstairs, she walks straight into the kitchen. But as she walks into the kitchen, her and I are both staring at this very dark, solid shadow figure sitting on the couch. And it's very, very distinct, like in the dark, like that there's like a extra dark shadow that's the shape of like a tall person that's sitting on the chair. And she walks directly past it, staring at it as she's walking past it. Cause it was one of those things where she just kind of like started doing what she was doing already. So she didn't like stop. She just continued on and was just kind of in shock. And I'm standing by like the bottom of the stairs, staring at it too. And as she like walks past it, I look at her, she looks at me, and then we look back and then it just wasn't there anymore.
What?
So I don't know if it was, I don't know. It was super fucking weird. She said that house was haunted to begin with.
Right.
But she said it was by like a little boy, which wouldn't have made sense why it was like a tall, shadowy figure. So I don't know if it was that same one that we saw at the psychiatric hospital, like it had kind of taken on like a different shape, like if it followed us, or if it was something else that we'd pulled from there, because there was a lot of abuse within that hospital because it was a psychiatric hospital.
Yeah.
But we didn't have an experience after that, but it was just so distinguished that like there was a thick person shaped shadow that you could clearly see in the dark, like extra thick where you couldn't see the couch through it because it was such a dark shadow. And it didn't make any noise. We didn't hear any noise with it. It was just like there and then it was gone.
Okay. That's freaky. I want to see this image too that you capture of this thing. And you're talking about this pale figure with this long dark hair and stuff. And then I look over your shoulder and see that rake. It's like in your logo. It's just I just see it like other shoulder. Yeah, man, right there. I was like, man, what's that behind him?
It was just like that, like the same kind of skin complexion, but it had like long dark hair on the top of its head. Like not all over its body like a wolf creature or anything like that, just like long, like normal hair on the top of its head.
Yeah, you can keep that thing.
Yeah.
Man. I gotta ask your opinion. One, what do you think these are? Like, are these spirits of deceased people that didn't go to the light, or what are these things?
So it depends on like which perspective I guess you want to use on it. As far as like shadow people, I guess a lot of people have their different variations on what they may or may not be. Not necessarily linking to the paranormal, because I think that like shadow people are very different than like a ghost would be.
I think so.
But like my what I've picked apart, at least what I feel like shadow people are, is like a lot of religions talk about this place called the void. So like my view on it is I feel like they're like people from the void, or like whatever type of consciousness is within the void. And when they come to where we are, they don't know how to like manifest themselves. So they just kind of take the shape of what we are, thinking that they'll like blend in that way, because it's like uncomprehendable to people to think that there's, I don't want to say like a gas being, but I guess that'd be like a good way to describe it, where it just may be a consciousness being that doesn't necessarily have a shape. So it just takes a shape when it's in this plane or reality or whatever you want to call it.
Right.
And then a lot of like the paranormal stuff though, I kind of feel like there's multiple things it could be. One idea that I always like to entertain is that if there's like a thin layer in the veil, maybe it's that like you're seeing somebody in another dimension as a ghost, and they're also seeing you as a ghost, which might explain the whole idea of like why ghosts will come and go really quick. Right. Is because it might just be another person on the other side seeing you as a ghost, so they're trying to take off real quick thinking that it's like a ghost. Like you're reacting the same on both sides. Yeah,
that's why you hear cabinet slam, because they just saw you in their kitchen, right?
Exactly. Like, oh no. And then my other idea on what I think it could be is like if there's something traumatic enough that happens in one particular space that it almost leaves like an imprint.
Yeah.
Like if time's not necessarily linear, so it may be like you're seeing a ghost, but it may not be a ghost. It may be that person in that time that thing was happening, but it was so horrifying, or just so whatever you want to use, like whatever term you want to use, so violent, like whatever happened to him at that time, that it left like an impression on that location that you can see it through different times and dimensions.
Yeah.
Which would explain a lot of like the battlefield hauntings and things like that.
Yeah. You remember that show Ghost Hunters? Taps, it was like Jason Hawes and sorry, but I forget the other guy's name. But they were like plumbers, and they talked about something similar to that, and they called it residual hauntings.
Yep.
Where it's just kind of like a timestamp stuck on something, and it just repeats the same thing over and over. And it wasn't actually a ghost, it was just like the imprint of that energy stuck there, just repeating the same thing over and over again.
And that might be why those particular types of hauntings don't seem to like react to you being there like other hauntings do too, is because it might just be literally you're just seeing like through the veil of something happening in that same space, but not necessarily at that same time.
Yeah. But it's like the old TV, I don't know if you ever had the old TVs, man. If you left it on the same static image, overnight or whatever, just pause your VCR, and then the next day you turn your TV on, you'll still see that image there. It's kind of just burnt into existence or whatever.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, man. And yeah, it wouldn't respond because it's not intelligent, right? It's not that intelligent kind of haunting.
And then the other type of haunting idea that I've kind of entertained too is that if there's like a thinning in the veil, maybe it's just yourself at different times. So those people that have continuous hauntings through their whole life, or they're always seeing something.
Yeah.
It might just be the reason why it resonates with you is because it's you yourself, but just at different points where there's just like a thinning of the veil, or maybe there's something like around you that just causes like a thinning of a veil, like if you're a special type of person or something.
Yeah. I can appreciate that too. And again, in this very house I'm sitting in, I had a similar incident that kind of lends credence to what you're saying. I have a routine. I come in the house, I walk through my office, I walk up the stairs into the living room, I hook a right, and I kick my shoes off in front of the fireplace, every day. Well, after about 2 years of being in this house, my daughter swore she saw me do that exact same routine, except I wasn't in the house, and she only saw me from the waist down.
See, that might be that imprint thing too, where it's like it's so routine that like it's you from different points, and maybe there's just like a thinning of the veil because it's all happening all at once. If time isn't necessarily linear.
Yep. And in that very same week, this was close to Christmas time. That very same week, my wife thought she had saw me leave the living room and come down into my office. And again, I wasn't in the living room. You know what I mean? It's like, so either I was super funky that week or I don't know, man, but whatever I ate, maybe I should eat it again. I was in tune with something. But
it's a shadow person trying to steal your form. They're just really good at it.
Yeah. This is the last form I'd want to steal, man. I'd like to steal my form from my 20s, maybe, but not me in my 40s. You know, my form has gotten quite different over the last 20 years.
Hey, I don't know about you, man, but you may not have as much physical physique as you get older, but I feel like your brain gets better as long as you keep it tuned.
Yeah, well, you know that's true. You know that's right, man. And I would rather have a little wisdom and a little more patience than shoulders and arms like I used to have. But if I could just have both, it would be great. You know, isn't there a time where you're supposed to have it all? You know, like kind of where's that Joe Rogan experience at? Where's that moment where I got the brains and the brawn?
You gotta wait till they start doing the neural link, but then that creates a whole other scary universe altogether too.
Right? Yeah, maybe that's the problem. I just don't have. That brings us back to being rich. We need to have that money. That way we can hire trainers to get us on track.
You just gotta manifest it. You gotta you gotta meditate on it, and then you gotta hope that when you go to sleep, you'll switch bodies with that rich version of yourself or the famous version of yourself.
if this show stops all of a sudden, you'll know what happened, man. I won't look back.
But hey, maybe this is the version where you have all the money you need. You just need to wait till a little bit farther in life, and then if you switch, it'll be like the opposite, where you'll be broke later on in life. You'll be like, damn it, I just want to go back.
You know what, man? That would be my luck. I would go into this rich body like the day before I go bankrupt. You know,
or you'll switch into that body the day before you hit the lottery, and you end up getting like $60 million or something.
That's how my luck goes.
But hey, man, it all happens for a reason. So maybe it has an end game to the way it all plays out.
That's it. I'm happy with the blessings I got. Hey, you talked about doing some urban exploring, and that put one word in my head, and I know you know what I'm talking about. Have you done Randonautica? Randonautica?
Done what?
Randonautica. Are you a randonaut?
Refresh me. I haven't heard that one in a while.
Oh my gosh. Randonautica. It's an app. If it's all about urban exploring or you know, any kind of exploring. You set your intention, okay? You set your mind on what you want to see. And you set a destination on the app, you know, within so many miles of your location or whatever, however far you feel like traveling. And let it randomly, using some kind of quantum physics, math, nerdy stuff that I don't understand, it'll pick a location and you go to it. Some people go, you know, they have to watch out for trespassing or whatever else, but it sends you to a location regardless. And when you go there, supposedly, you may be able to find something that connects to what your intention was. And if it doesn't do it the first time, you do it a second and a third time. By the third time, you should be synced in with this Randonautica app and find what you're looking for.
Yeah, I'd never heard of that. I'll have to look into that. When I was urban exploring, it was before my daughter was born, so it was like 7 years ago. So I don't know if that was around back then.
If it was probably like somebody's brainchild. I think it's been around for about 4 or 5 years.
Yeah, so that's probably why I haven't heard of it. I had ended up straying away from urban exploring because I didn't want to take any chances, you know, now that I got the kiddos and stuff. So
yeah, man. Yeah, I get that. You know, and people, I think they were out in California or something. Of course, there's an urban legend to it already. You know, they did the intention. I don't know what their desire was, but what they found was like a body chopped up in a suitcase. Yeah. It went right to it.
Was this confirmed?
Yes, confirmed. And it went right to it.
What kind of weird intentions do they have that's what they're looking for? That's my question.
I don't know, bro. I don't know if they were trying to find something weird, but they surely did find something weird. But why would it put them, for whatever reason, it was their time to find something like that, you know? Yeah, that they did.
Not that I'm intrigued to find a dead body, but you got me intrigued to try out this app because I kind of want to do some like, cryptid hunting with this thing. See
Yeah,
if I
man.
find anything weird or like UFO hunting.
Yeah. Me and my daughter tried it, but again, internet is so sparse here. We go down to the state park. We tried it it was probably about 3 or 4 years ago. And we set our intentions, we wanted to find like old bones. It was not human bones, but we wanted to find, like deer bones. I thought that would be pretty easy. Pretty much wherever they stuck me in the park, I may be able to find something and say that this worked. I never found anything, but again, the internet was so sparse, or your cellular connection was so horrible. It was really limiting. So I am yet to give it a fair shake, but I'm all about you trying it if you want to give it a shot.
Hey, I'm always willing to try it out just to see what happens because it's either a sham where it's like one of those things that it just has so many sporadic locations that people go to that somebody's bound to find something,
Right.
Or maybe there actually is some logic to it. Who knows? I'm kind of curious now.
Yeah, Randonautica, and the logo is, of course, an owl.
That sounds like some occult ties now.
Yeah, it does, don't it? There's been so many there's been a ton of podcasts done about this app.
I'm gonna have to read the fine print when I download it too. Make sure it's not.
I used to have it on my phone. I probably took it off there. Probably got freaked out one day after listening to like some conspiracy theory show. But yeah, man, that's what I thought of as soon as you said urban exploring. I thought this is the man. He's probably a rando not. He's going to tell me all kinds of crazy stuff happened. But
no, I'd found some weird locations around where I lived, and I just go to those. Like I went to a couple different psychiatric hospitals that got closed down. The main one we always went to is that Northville psychiatric hospital because there was like 8 different buildings all in that same place, so there was like more than enough to explore. We went there multiple times.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think about anywhere else weird that we went. We went to a jail once. That was pretty interesting. We didn't get to go there at night, so we didn't get to see if there's anything like weird going on there. But I'm sure that, being a jail, there probably is a lot of, residual, emotions and a lot of other different stuff connected to it because it was pretty good sized jail. And it was the Detroit House of Corrections. So it was like a lot of people got sent there. It was like, the staple back in the day.
Yeah, man. Yeah, that would be a highly charged area, I would imagine,
They started closing down a bunch of them too. Like they tore down Northville a couple of years ago because there was, again, it might be linked to something weird. I don't know, but there was always a lot of people doing a bunch of different occult symbols and different things down in the basement, like different ritual looking symbols. And there's these 2 weird stories where most of the elevators the doors were closed, but there's 2 where they're open a very thin crack. And within the, let's see, period of like, I think it was like 2 months or so, there was like a handful of people that fell down the elevator shafts. So then they're like watching that place like a hawk. And then soon after that, they decided to like demolish it. So I don't know, maybe there's some other weird stuff going on there.
Yeah, sounds like it. It'd be a good place to dispose of somebody if say they fell down the shaft, right?
And the weird part was it was right next to a police station. Like if you're on the top of the building, you could see the police station from right there. It was like, so this is the main street in front of it. It's right here. It was like right next door to where the little campus was for that hospital was the police station for Northville.
You don't think the police were dropping people down the elevator shaft?
Could have been possible. I don't know. That would have been extra weird. There's always cop cars there because there's a few times that we were up on the roof and we saw a few people getting busted for going in that place. And then we saw a handful of times there was just like cop cars that would just kind of like do a loop around in that parking lot and sit there for a few minutes and then leave. So I don't know, man. Could be some other weird stuff connected to that place. Maybe that's why they destroyed it because there's no way to really dig into it now, unfortunately.
Yeah. Whatever they did, they accomplished it and it's over with. Now it's gone. Mm-hmm. Wow, man, Shane, you got anything else you want to talk about, man? You want to plug your show a little bit?
Yeah, of course. If anybody's interested in the things I talk about, my show is kind of sporadic as far as ideas go. Sometimes we talk about cryptids. Sometimes we talk about different theories of reality. It's just an all-around, I'd say, talk show for people that are into open-minded concepts and being introduced into a bunch of different open-minded concepts. So Inquiries of Our Reality, I'm available across pretty much all the main podcast platforms. So, Google, Amazon, Apple, Spotify, all that fun stuff. And if you want to come and find any of my links, if you want to come talk to me on Instagram, shoot me an email, listen to the show, get some merch for the show. I made it easy, put it all underneath one link. It's linktr.ee/Inquiries of Our Reality podcast. And also, if anybody else is interested, I do a little fun sideshow with Kyle Rainey from the Big Dumb podcast called Big Dumb Inquiries, where we just kind of take clips from current events and discuss them and make jokes and, just have fun with it. So if anybody wants to come check that stuff out, come check out Inquiries of Our Reality.
Awesome. Yes, sir. Yeah, man, you put out a lot of content. I just keep scrolling. It's like every other day. It seemed like for a couple of weeks there, I was like, my gosh, this man's on fire.
What's funny is I have posted up to 24, and I do my show on Mondays and Fridays are when the episodes drop, and then Big Dumb Inquiries is on Tuesdays.
Yeah.
And I have up to 24 posted, up to 36 edited. And then on my computer that I still have to edit, I have up to number 44. So I've definitely been plugging away at the show.
Wow. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. If I get like 3 or 4 in queue, I feel like I'm killing it. And sometimes I record the night before my shows do. You know what I mean? I don't know. It's been a couple of years. I'm slowing down, man. I don't know what's going on. I'm running out of people to talk to, I think. People quit emailing me, so.
You got to start looping around to the beginning.
Yeah.
Start seeing, you got any new experiences?
Yeah, I'll start doing that old trick that I'm seeing some podcasters do now. They're just like, they put an old show on and say reloaded, and they just do a new intro and play the old show a second time.
I haven't actually seen that yet, but it reminds me of like those episodes of TV shows where it's basically just like a recap episode.
Yep. Yep. Hey, we'll get away with it once or twice, at least, fill an empty week.
Hey, but at least with all the way the world's going now, with all this weirdness happening, if anything, I feel like cases are starting to spike up. So, maybe just get some more feelers out there to different groups of people. And I'm sure you'll probably have more than enough stories to hear.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. All it takes is landing on a new podcast, whole new audience, whole new set of circumstances. Like when I did, I was on Sasquatch Chronicles. I don't know if you ever listened to it or not, but it's insanely popular Bigfoot show.
Mm-hmm.
I had like 10,000 downloads that week. People come on and was listening to my stuff. And then, tinfoil hat, Hall of Fame, Super Bowl moment, again, there was Sam. And then it was on after that. You know what I mean? So it's been fun, man.
Hey, but that's what it comes down to, though, is you got to keep it fun, because as soon as podcasting isn't fun anymore, then it's like, why are you doing it?
Exactly, because it sure as hell ain't for the money, is it?
No, that's definitely not, or at least not yet. If anything, we're paving the foreground or the ground for the people that maybe will make money off of it. But as of right now, it's all just a hobby that's intended for fun.
That's it. It's a lot of fun to do. Well, Shane, I appreciate you coming on the show, man.
So I appreciate you having me on the show.
Yeah,
it was fun after having our episode together on my show to pop onto your show and have an episode with you too.
Yeah, man, I love it. Has my episode released yet?
Let me check.
I think I'm still in queue. I think I'm still stuck in holding.
I know I got it edited. It should be one of the ones coming up soon. I swear.
All right.
I'm gonna look right now just so I can tell you the exact date here.
I didn't mean to call you out, man, but I'm gonna have your show. This one will come out in about 2 or 3 weeks from the time we're recording it.
7/29.
7/29.
Told you. Wow. I got a bank.
Okay, that's all right. So this one will release first.
And then at least they'll know to look for that one. And there's the date for it. 7/29. If anybody wants to come check it out on my show.
That's right. Everybody go to Inquiries of Our Reality. I have a hard time, man. I had a speech impediment when I was a kid. I have a hard time with R's. So your show, that's hard for me to do. Inquiries of Our Reality. And check him out.
And I feel like my show name's kind of a tongue twister for a lot of people. It's gotten like to the point for me where it kind of just flows off the tongue. But it's not, I guess, necessarily like a name that flows for other people. But I still like the name I picked because I was trying to do Our Reality. So it just kind of makes it seem like, I'm personally connected with everybody. Like this is all of our reality together.
Indeed. I love it, man. I love your personality. I love your mindset. You describe yourself as, open-minded. I described you as open-minded when we did the pre-intro. I love it. I love how you stay open, man.
I appreciate that, man. And I definitely love all you do with your show, and I love talking to you too. And I love your personality just as much, because you seem to be somebody that we can, flow pretty good on these conversations back and forth. So, because we both have a lot of different life experiences that we can bounce back and forth with each other.
Yeah, brother. Yeah, brother. It's a lot of fun, man. Holler at me anytime, Shane. Come back on the show sometime.
Of course, same goes for you too. And if you were interested in coming on Big Dumb Inquiries, another shout out to the listeners that want to come and check that out. You're always welcome to come on that show with Kyle and I too.
Sweet. I'll do it. All right, man. You have a good night.
You too. Thank you.
Later, brother.